Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fitness Friday again today. I'm so excited. We have a special guest. We have Bailey Smith on with us today. But first of all, I want to, of course, introduce you to my friend, Coach Adrice. And let me introduce you to my friend, Coach Adrice. He is a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified personal trainer with 25 years experience. Adrice specializes in women's fitness through NASM. He is a nutritional counselor, certified EMT, and LVN. He has worked helping hundreds of clients from high school to professional athletes and housewives to CEOs of companies to achieve their weight loss and fitness goals. He is the former 2002 Mr. USA bodybuilding champion with 20 years of competition experience. He's also an Air Force military veteran where he served in Desert Storm as a combat medic. Everybody help me welcome my friend, Coach Adrice.
Hey,
Okay, I'm going to try and do this. I've never done this before with just two, so, well, three, but adding another one in. So let's see how I can do it.
you'll get it.
I don't know. Let's see. I got it. Sorry, guys.
Hey,
Okay, a little bit of technical difficulties there. That happens every now and again, right?
minor.
How are you today, Coach Idris?
I'm hanging. I've been sick for 2 weeks. Jesus,
Sick.
that flu
That's
is
no
no joke.
fun.
Yeah, lost like 18 pounds.
18 pounds. Holy moly.
Yeah,
And you're not excited about that,
it'll take me
right?
2 months to put it. I'm actually just only 10 back on
Yeah.
because it's my back actually feels a little better, not so fat. No, being heavy is hard on the back, even if you're in shape. It's just hard. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I bet.
yeah,
So I'm excited that we're going to have Bailey on. How long have you
yeah.
been working with Bailey?
Me and Bailey met. It's kind of funny. She's a Navy girl. I met her at the VA. I was there, getting stuff done. She was, and I could tell she worked out. I could tell she was into fitness. Cute little body on her, big old legs and booty on her. I'm like, she works out. So we're talking, and she's like, yeah, I do this. I do CrossFit, but I said, so how's everything going? How's your diet? She's like, I'm counting my macros, and how's that? She's like, it's not going too well. Like, oh yeah, but I'm sure it's not. Most people that tell me they're counting their macros have no idea what that even means.
Yeah.
So we talked about it, and then she said, I want to work with you, and I gave her a couple of tips. I forget what it was, and 6 days later, about a week later, we met, and she lost like 6 pounds already, and she couldn't lose any weight for 2 years, and in 5 days she lost 6 pounds. So I was like, okay, so she actually listens. That's
You
rare to
know,
have a client that listens.
Yeah, the thing that I love about everything you've told me about Bailey is that her story kind of sounds similar to mine because I used to do CrossFit as well. And I was gaining the muscle, but I wasn't like leaning down. And that was the biggest difference that I have never had in my life that I wanted to create for myself. And that's why this was the journey that I wanted to go down so that even though I'm buff, you can't see any of the muscle if I got some extra fat on. So that's kind of where I've been on my journey, and I kind of love to be able to see how it's transformed her and her body and just her mind and mindset and everything. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and before we introduce her, just a little, she had a lot of things that just over the, and she's young. She was 26. She's about my daughter's age, so it's kind of like a daughter to me. But I just watched her mature over the last year too. She was into partying. She was into drinking with her buddies, and over time she said, you know what, I'm done with the drinking. I'm done with the this. And I just watched her mature. And even one of our friends, Yasmin, she's another client. She's 24. She says she's completely different than the girl she met. Completely. She's
Yeah.
like, she is completely different. you know, and it's awesome to see how much she's matured and changed her habits. And now she's like, getting ready to get on stage tomorrow. And I'm very, very proud of her. So I thought I'd have her come on and just kind of talk about, her experience thus far. And then next week we can talk about after the contest, and she can tell you how it felt to be up there.
That sounds awesome. Well, let's get her on with us and start this conversation. Okay.
Hey y'all,
What
Hey,
up?
Bailey.
good to see you guys.
So you're looking pretty tan. We talked about this before we went on, but you're not quite to Oompa Loompa level on
Not
my
quite.
scale.
We've got a couple more tans to go. I'm like 3 deep now, and I'm like the first one just took me from ghost to like normal person color. So now it's just a matter of building from there.
I love it.
And she was clear before that. She was translucent.
Yeah, like see my color of my veins and all. I'm like, wow, I'm really. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to compete, and I think it's cool listening to even Idris's side because I definitely was in such a rut, I guess, in my nutrition. And I think macro counting is so different because it's still just because you count macros doesn't mean you're eating clean or you're eating the right carbs or you're eating, the right fats, anything like that. And so it was definitely a mind like blowing thing whenever he's like, just cut this, cut that, try play around with this a little bit. And then, like you said, yeah, 1 week, I'm like, oh, wow, that worked. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I know that we've talked on one of the other episodes that we did when we had you on before, and just
Yeah.
the excitement that happens when you see your body change. And when, especially like you had an aha moment, just like I had an aha moment where you're like, I didn't even know I had that muscle. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Muscles that you didn't even know you had in your body, So I love
Yeah.
that. It's such a familiar journey, even though you're taking it to such an amazing level. And you inspire me and inspire so many around you. So I'm excited to.
Thanks.
So tell me, what has been your hardest thing throughout this whole journey and sticking to?
The hardest thing, and I think I told Dries this, I would say the mental side of things. I think that's where I either struggle the most or need to put the most work into because getting up and going to the gym, I mean, sometimes it's the actual act of just going to the gym, but I truly enjoy going to the gym. And now that I have even a better circle of people that have surrounded me and supported me, really seeing who's there, who isn't, who's going to help you, who's not going to help you. And so once you actually find those people too to support you, I feel like it makes the process so much easier. Because I have one of my best friends. She is one every morning she gets up and cardios with me. And then I have another buddy who at night, if I'm walking, like she's walking with me. And so it just helps having people too who are like, okay, I'm in this with you. And I think that helped my mental side of things. But the confidence side is still hard because I can see myself in the mirror and Idris can say, oh, this muscle's coming in, like this looks great. And people at the gym, oh, you look so good, your back looks great. But it's still looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, this like pesky piece of fat and like this little piece needs to go. So it's still so hard because I understand that I look good. I know I look better than I ever have before, but it's also trying to not nitpick myself to such an extreme. I know everything happens in time. So it's also just understanding that, yeah, just the whole mental side of it, I think is probably the biggest aspect for me.
And I feel like it's really hard to see that change in yourself. That was something that I really struggled with. I was like, I felt better. I was feeling more toned, but I couldn't see it when I looked in the mirror until my husband one day, he's like, I was telling him how I didn't feel like I had changed that much. And he was like, are you kidding me? Have you seen pictures of yourself? So he like literally pulled up pictures and he's like showing me like how defined my arms were and things like that. And that's when it started to change for me, when I actually had been told by somebody outside myself, yeah, look at the improvement that you've made and where you've made it. And now when I go to the gym, I'm like looking at my arms and I'm like, I can see the veins in my arms when I'm lifting weights. It makes you feel like Hulk a little bit. You're like hulking out at the gym and you're like,
get a good pump and you're like, oh, that looks good.
Yeah. And I love it because I've never ever I've always looked at bodybuilding as like something, I don't know, like I always was like, I don't want to get too fit, right? Because I don't want to be like too muscular looking or whatever. But as I've like been on my journey, I've actually seen just those little pieces that I thought I would never enjoy on my own body, and I love it. So
that's exactly it. I feel
tell me tell me your transformation in like really loving that part and that aspect of it.
Yeah, I will say I agree with you so much on that. I have never looked at bodybuilding and been like, oh, that's something I want to do. I never, not because I didn't think it took, extreme training and such hard work, but just because for me, I was like, oh, well, I kind of like this a little bit more and I like this a little bit more. And then, but once I actually started training, and then you start to get shoulders and you start to get certain leg muscles, and then like, my love handles go away, and I'm like, I actually really like the look of this. And then, yeah, you get like certain veins. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then you just start like, it's almost like you're proud of it too. So then you want more of it. Like, okay, my shoulders are here. Now I want biceps and I need abs and I want a back. And so it just kind of builds off because you are proud of seeing the results of the hard work you have put in. So I think that's kind of a big part of it.
Yeah.
And y'all be shocked. That's what everyone who does this experiences.
Yeah.
I felt the same, everything you're saying. And a lot of people, they look at people like myself, and I've had people say this to me, oh, Idris, you wouldn't understand, you're different. And I'm like, I was an 8-pound, 22-inch baby just like the rest of you. I didn't come out like this.
True.
If I came out like this, my mother's a hell of a birther. You know what I mean? That's some real work. And they think like because they see the end product, they don't realize all the doubts that I had, all the mistakes that I made, all the setbacks that I had when I didn't know how to eat right. My body fat was high and I had to drop weight and try again. I went through all of it, except I never stopped because I was like, I want to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. And it also, I remember 6 months when I started at the gym, and I would see guys in the gym, and I'm like, no. When I first went into the gym, when I was at San Antonio, Lackland Air Force Base, 20 years old, I'm seeing guys, and I'm like, whoa, I'll never do that. Like, they were big dudes lifting, and then 6 months later, I was lifting some of that weight. And I remember saying, wow, if I put my mind to something, I can really do it. And that's what this was. When I told you from day one, I was like, I want you to compete. And you're like, I'm like, I want you to compete. And it had nothing to do with winning. Had nothing to do with winning. I knew that this was going to happen. Because you start doing things you can't believe you're doing.
Yeah.
You start saying no to things you can never say no to. And it transfers from here to your normal life. You start to be better at work. You start to go, well, if I could do that here, I could do it in another area of my life that I'm struggling in. So you start to become a tougher, more mentally tougher person across the board. And that's what this is. This has nothing to, I'm serious. What I keep telling you, Bailey, I don't care what you place, as long as you're your best. As long as you don't quit and you do what I say and you get up there and you work your butt off, you're going to walk away from that stage proud of yourself, regardless. Because you don't control who shows up to the show anyway.
Yeah.
You don't control that. When I used to compete, I was like, I can be my best and still get beat by somebody who's better. So I can't go in there with that attitude. I got to go in there with this, be my best. And one day, my best was good enough to win a title. And then I started winning more titles. But I didn't rush it. I was like, I'll get there. And that's what I've been telling this one for, God.
A year now, probably.
I'm like, slow down. We'll get there. What's going to happen 2 weeks out? I don't know. It's 9 months out.
He's like, I will tell you what needs to be done
when we're there.
Right now. That's it.
But I rather that than somebody that I'm like cracking the whip, and I don't want to crack the whip. I want somebody I got to slow up than somebody I got to push. And she was somebody I had to just kind of pull the reins on. And then, so, and it's okay. It's okay. I'll get on her butt about it. I'm like, you're driving me nuts. Because I'm more patient than she is. Like when I work with people, I just kept my mouth head down and went. She's like 1,000 questions. And I'm like, don't ask so many questions because you're going to just get confused.
I got to know everything.
She wants to know everything. And I'm like, it's too much. It's too much to know everything. I'm going to feed it to you slowly so that you get it,
And I will say too, how Idris always says, like, you will not quit. Like, you're not going to quit. That is something, and it sounds so silly, but when I am in the gym, like, because usually whenever we'll either do our workouts through Zoom or in person, But every time when it comes down to those end reps, he's like, "You do not quit. You do not quit." So it's just even when he's not there, I can constantly have that in my head, that push of like, "You do not quit. Do not." Even when I do sets by myself now, I just like hear it in my head, like, "You are not quitting. Like push through the set or do this." So now I feel like it's almost just applied in my head so much that I feel like I can apply it to so many other things because I'm like, nothing's as hard as, this stuff that I'm doing now. Like at this point, if I can do all this and not quit, I can do so many other things and it just be, cake. I don't want to say cake, but easier than what. It just gives me the push, I should say.
Yeah. I love that. So when you began, what was your weight? What was your body fat percentage compared to now?
So
I'm gonna bring up your pictures while we talk about
yeah.
this.
So with Idris, when we met that day at the VA, I weighed 153 and I was at about 27% body fat. And then with that first week, like you said, when I lost my 6 pounds, so I technically started with him at like 146 after that first initial week we had talked. But now I'm at, my last scan was like a week or two ago, and I'm at about 12%, and I weigh 123 right now.
Wow. Look at all those muscles.
Yeah, they
Ow,
do.
look at that. You look
Yeah,
amazing, honestly.
It's pretty cool.
thank you so
Pretty
much.
cool.
I am. It's crazy seeing it too, because I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, I'm pretty far,
And
very far.
she's funny. She's funny. She's like about 6 weeks out. She's like, I want to stay like this, and I'm like, no, you don't. She's like, I'm like, do you want to be doing all this cardio and eating like this all the time? She's like, no. I was like, then you don't want to stay like this.
But I like that frame, man. I was like, ooh, I'm looking good.
Because people actually think like you can live that way, and I'm like, no, you can't live that way.
I know
But
that
see, what it
I'm
is, you know, a lot of people think that bodybuilders are. Like I tell people that you're to me personally, unless you're trying to be a professional. Otherwise, this should be more about learning how to eat right, learning how to push yourself, discipline yourself, build your mental toughness. Looking good to me is a byproduct of everything else. When most people act like that's the only reason people are bodybuilding, and I'm like, no, that is really secondary. The primary is learning how to say no to things you could never say no. Like, the first time I told her, I was like, I want to pull the cheese out. And she wasn't leaning out. I was like, let's pull the cheese out. She's like, I'm only using a little bit. I said, well, let's just humor me and let's just see if anything happens. How many pounds did you lose taking cheese out for 3 days?
What was it, like 5 pounds? I finally like dropped below that. I had been stuck at this pesky number, and then I took cheese out, and I'm like, gosh, I'm so annoyed that you were right.
So
It
I
really
just
has
and I
to
just
be
wanted her
wrong.
to see how foods affect us. And that's really what this is. Y'all think foods don't affect you the way they do because no one does it consistently enough to see if it's going to affect. Most people eat 500 calories one day, 2,000 the next, 1,800 one day, 1,200 one day. They're all over the place. And they don't even know where it's coming from. So I was like, I want you to be consistent so you can actually go, wow, rice does this to me. Pasta does this to me. Bread does this to me. And then I explain why it's doing it. And now you have that for the rest of your life. You have it for the rest of your life. Like people say, well, how do you stay in shape? Because I know exactly how food affects me. I know how much I need to eat to gain. I know how much I need to eat to lose. And I know what I need to do to maintain. And I don't think people understand that's very few people in the world can do that. Think about that. Very few people can control their weight exactly the way they want to. And it's such a huge thing when it comes to our self-esteem. Okay? People who don't like the way they look, whether it's skinny, fat, doesn't really matter. If you don't like it, it hits you in your self-esteem. It hits you in your confidence. A lot of people are insecure because of it. When you eliminate all of those things, you feel better about yourself. You're more confident about yourself. You take less crap from people. You get in better relationships with better people. You don't pick what just comes down the block. You pick what you want instead of what just happens to walk through the door. When you're a confident woman, little pansy dudes don't really come around because you're too, oh, you intimidate me. Good, keep stepping. If I intimidate you, you need to keep going. I need a man that doesn't get intimidated just because I'm a confident woman. And that's real. That's real. A lot of people think because they make a lot of money or they have a lot of success that they're going to get the best guy. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not confident. All I got to do is say one thing and it'll shatter you.
Yeah.
All I got to say is, did you gain a little weight? Done. 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 Like that should not shatter your whole world if somebody thinks you put a little bit of weight on. You should be like, no, I'm fine, you know. But when you can get broken just by one word, you know, you got some, you know, mental toughness and control your emotions. And so that's what I've seen from her. I've just seen her get mentally tougher. And I can't wait to see and she's only 27. I can't wait to see as time goes on just how much stronger she is mentally.
I'm excited.
How do you feel, Bailey, about this whole journey and where it's going to take you in the future? Do you see yourself doing more of these competitions?
I do. And I told Drees, I'm like, I am ready to do this because I'm ready to gain. Like now seeing my frame, I'm like, I want to get bigger. Like I want to get more muscle. Like let's go. So if anything, it's like pump me up even more. I'm like, okay, like when can we lift heavy again? Because I can't lift heavy right now. Like that's what I'm ready to do again. I just want to lift big weight again.
Yeah, and that's what they mean by like the addiction that comes with it, because you all of a sudden see your body change and you're just like, I didn't know that I could be that way. I could accomplish that. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, what does the next level look like? And
it does.
I feel like the addiction for me. Yeah.
And there's a thing that people, I love when people think being really into something, you know, people, I hate the word addicted. I think that's overused. But I used to work with a program with the Betty Ford Clinic in Palm Springs. And the director and I were talking about the gym and working out. And everyone that comes in there, no matter what their problem is, heroin, whatever, alcohol, whatever, they put them in the gym. Every one of them. And he says, because if you have a personality like that, you don't change your personality. You're going to still overdo, you're going to feast or famine type personality. Either they do it all, they don't do it at all. Yeah. I mean, they either do nothing or they do all of it. Put them in something that's positive, okay? So if you get into this too much, you're just in great shape.
Darn.
You're just in great
shape.
Not
a bad addiction, right? If it is an addiction.
Exactly. If you're going to be addicted to something, be addicted to eating healthy and exercise, right?
Yeah.
But people don't look at it that way. They actually think it's a bad thing, which is crazy. Because if you talk to people who are really into this, and they're into it for the right reasons, not so they can, you know, look down on other people. Because there's people that do that too. There's people out there that think they're hot stuff because they look great and they look down on other people. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people who do it for themselves, just to better themselves. What in the world could be better than feeling good about yourself and the effort that you put out? And that's what this is. Whether you compete or not. I had one guy named Van, a friend of mine in LA that I was training. And he goes, Idris, I've never been ripped like you guys on stage. I've been lifting for years. And he had a great physique, but he had never been ripped before. So I said, well, what do you want to do? He goes, well, I don't want to do a show. But I said, well, then do a photo shoot. That's your show. So he planned a photo shoot. We picked the date and we got him ready, just like it was a contest. I dried him out just like you're doing. He got ripped. And it's funny, him and his wife, he was a PT guy and a trainer, but his wife owned a donut shop. Okay, she owned a donut shop, and it was called Spud. It was potato spuds instead of regular dough. I missed them so bad. Oh my god, they don't make those anywhere but in LA. But and then he did a photo shoot with the donuts. We had a big old dozen of donuts with a ripped stomach. You know? But he did it for that. He did just for his own personal. I want to see myself like that one day. So it's never just, it's not, you don't have to do this and compete. You can do this and just it really should be, honestly, what do I tell you, Bailey? It's just competition against yourself.
Yes,
against yourself. It's not about everybody else.
And I'll touch on part of that too, like doing it for yourself. In the beginning for me too, a big part of it was, and I think we touched on this last time we had talked too, was just the lifestyle change. Like, I will no longer let food control me. Like, I will control what I put in my body. Like, food at this point is fuel. It's not, oh, this tastes good or whatever. It's what I want in my body because it's better, it's just better for me. It's just changing my lifestyle. And so that for me was probably one of the biggest things too, is just my relationship with food in general was probably not the healthiest.
I think that most people don't realize that difference, right? And that's the thing that I try to teach my children now is that food is actually a fuel for your body. It helps you have the energy, it helps you do certain things. And you shouldn't just eat it because it tastes good. Of course, we're all gonna have food when it tastes good, right? Like you can't take that.
Yeah, we're not saying eat nasty food. We're saying make the foods that are good for you and make them, learn how to cook a little bit and learn how to make them taste good for you. I mean, so people used to ask me, "What do you eat?" I'm like, I don't know, chicken, turkey, red meat, rice, like everybody else. What are you talking about? I'm not eating anything weird. It's how I prepare it may be different, but I eat the same foods everybody else eats.
And I know I love hearing just about your journey on your mindset change and everything, Bailey. One of the things I know you have to get going here in a little bit, but I just wanted to know from you, what do you feel like in other aspects of your life, learning this type of conditioning for yourself and training on the physical side, what has it changed for you in other aspects of your life? And maybe even just feeling like you can accomplish more in other areas of your life?
Definitely, I would say just overall, even career wise, because I'm in sales too. And so I think a big thing, even Idris has helped me with time management. Just, okay, well, I have to do this appointment from here to here. Well, I have to get to the gym, whether it's in the morning or it's at night or it's in the middle of the afternoon for lunch. It's just a matter of me organizing my time better, which just, again makes my day better to where at this point, my routine is so like first thing I do in the morning is get up and go do some cardio. I think I will probably stay with that because now if I were to miss a day of cardio, I'm like, oh, I'm sluggish in the mornings. Like I don't feel as awake. Like just certain routines in my day to day life, I think that it's been benefiting. So just my scheduling, like time management, staying organized. And then, like I said, too, just relationships. I think who I have around me in my life is such, an important thing. And this has really made me realize the ones that are here.
She froze a little bit, but
You know, but
I told her from day one, you're gonna lose some friends.
100%.
I said, you're gonna lose some friends.
100%.
She's like, why? And I said, you'd be shocked how many people don't have you in their best interest. You'd be shocked how many people aren't as supportive. Soon as you start doing something that makes a person feel a certain way, even though it has nothing to do with them,
nasty,
and you ain't doing nothing to them, their guilt for not doing the same thing you're doing, they take it out on you.
Yeah, people project hard. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Eat a donut or burger. And I'm like, no, I actually don't. Like, say what you want to say if it makes you feel better. So it's just a matter of, because you get to a point where you're like, I don't need to hear this stuff from people. Like, I don't care what you have to say. Like, your opinion doesn't matter to me because I don't want to look like you. I want to look like my best. So it's just kind of differentiating the people, honestly. I think that was a big thing, and I will continue to carry that and be able to recognize those things from people for the rest of my life.
And I think one of the big rules of life that a lot of people just for some reason skim over is the company you keep.
Mm-hmm.
You should not share good news with people who don't sincerely want the best for you. Yeah. And you find that out as soon as you start telling people, I'm gonna do this, and they start looking at you sideways. And I'm sorry, but women are really bad at this. Like you guys know, I train mostly women, and I have so many, and guys will do it too, but women do it a lot for some reason. Now I don't get it, but you start finding out who your friends are. You're like, wait a minute, why would you even talk me down from this? Like if somebody comes to you and says to you, I'm doing something, and there's excitement in their voice, why wouldn't you just keep that excitement in their voice? Why would you try to knock that down? And people do it all the time. Mm-hmm. And I look to people, I'm like this. So if you came to me with something exciting, what would you want to hear from me? You would want to hear, good job, go for it. But why? But you're not saying that to me. Why not?
To tell y'all something real crazy, real quick. I'm so sorry. I had chicken in the oven. Can I pull that out real quick? I am so sorry.
Gotta get her protein in.
And actually she's carbing up now. I'm getting her some carbs now so she can fill back out. She's been depleted from carbs for weeks.
Sorry about that.
She's gonna love those yams too, the way I told her to make them.
Oh, I already ate them right before we got on the show, and I already feel better.
You feel better, don't you?
Yeah, already. But it's funny. I was gonna say real quick too, because I had, and I would say friend, not really, because obviously we've been over that differentiating the two. But I had a girl tell me at one point, I was probably about 8 weeks out from the competition, and she's like, if you quit, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And I'm like, who are you? Why would you ever say that to me? Who in their right mind's like, oh, yeah, you could quit, everything would be fine. Like, no, that is not a human I need around me. You should be like, go bust your butt. Like, you got this. Like, let's kill it. What else do we need to do? But you being like, oh, yeah, if you quit, like, it'd be okay. Like, that you immediately, I'm like, I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm not hanging out with you. I'm not associating with you. Nothing.
And think about that statement. Like, it's okay to quit. Like,
what's wrong with you?
Where in the world is it okay to quit?
I'm like, okay.
As a mother, as a wife, as a father, like, where is it okay to just quit? But there's a lot of people that will just quit, and then they will complain that nothing works out.
Yeah.
They'll quit, but then they'll say, oh, nothing ever works for me. You quit everything. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And you don't feel good about yourself when you quit. You don't feel good about yourself.
I'm gonna quit after all of this time and work and effort.
And it's not just this. Business, entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter. Quitting is never going to make you feel good about yourself.
And the crazy thing is when you actually put in all that hard work and you build yourself up to that level to where you recognize when people who say that they're not people that you want to keep close to you, all of a sudden, like, you get to this feeling of feeling unstoppable. And then you get to see the world from a whole different view. And I don't think those types of people will ever get to see that view. And you're up so high on that mountain that you get to see that view and you don't want to come back down. And that's why it's easier to see those people, because they don't have that same aspiration, that same desire in life like you do now. So
if you look into their life, their relationships suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a client, Cindy, who would take off time because she would get busy and she would lose productivity. And this is the first year I was like, you can't do that. We have to train throughout the year. She's made the most money she has in her business this year because this also creates, like you said, when you get up in the morning and do your cardio, you have better productivity at work. So it goes beyond the body. It goes way beyond the physique, way beyond.
So many benefits. I just love it. I love it. Honestly, I get stoked about it. Of course, I have my downs. It's all a roller coaster, but I very much enjoy it, and I'm very proud of who it's made me just as a human in general today, like Idris said, versus where I was a year ago. So that in itself just is a lot to me.
So going into the competition tomorrow, what are the things that are most scary for you going into it? And what are your nerves feeling right now? Where is that coming from?
I feel okay right now because I'm just like, okay, let's do this. But I know when I'm up there, I do have stage fright. I do not like being, I don't want to say like center of attention, but like just on a stage, like, it's very half naked, uncomfortable for me. I don't do those things. Like, that is not a normal thing I would do. I even did physique class because I told Idris I'm not wearing heels on that stage. Like, I'm not going to wear heels, so I need to do whatever one I can that doesn't have to wear high heels. So physique.
She goes, I am not spinning in no shoes.
No, I was like, I am not doing that. I will fall, and if I'm going to freaking be...
So are you going to wear your boots from the military?
Hey, I'm barefoot all the way. I'm barefooted. Like,
we're going to have a new division, boots and bikinis.
Hey, I would be all
I like it.
Sign me up.
Well, that's exciting. I am so excited for you. This is going to be such a life-changing event for you, and I'm excited to hear what you get to come back with and all your experience. So,
I'm excited. I can't wait to tell you all about it.
And she'll actually, once you get up there, because when you're backstage and you're backstage with all the other ladies, you start realizing, look, we're all in this together. And she'll have, I always tell her experiences before she has them. Don't I? I'm always like, this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen. So she'll get back there and she'll be freaking out, and then she'll go, what the hell? I'm here.
Here it is. All I got.
And then she's gonna get off the stage, and we're gonna go eat, and she's gonna be like, "That was so freaking cool," because that's exactly how I felt. So I remember my first time, and I was like, and she had me helping her. When I first did it, it was me doing my own show, so I didn't know what I was doing.
I cannot imagine doing this on my own. I will say I would not have been able to do this without Idris. Like 110%, no way in hell I would have been able to do it without him.
Just winging it like I did. Yeah, I just winged it.
Yeah, no, that would not be a thing for me.
I was too dumb to know if I looked bad up there or not.
Nah, I got
and I took fourth.
That's impressive in itself.
I took fourth. I was like, hey, okay.
Maybe I'm not bad at this.
Maybe I'm not bad. Yeah.
no, that's exciting. I don't know if you need to go, Bailey. If you need to go, then we can.
I mean, are you packed already? Because I know she wants to leave at. Oh, you're not? Okay, no. So we'll let you go.
No, not all the way.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Bailey. So fun having you on, and just to hear about your journey is just so motivating for me, and I know for others that I've talked to about you and just the excitement around it. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate the support.
Come back next week. We're going to talk to her after, and she can talk about her experience next week.
Deal.
Awesome. Well, I'll be rooting for you, sending all my good vibes your way. We're gonna do
I'll take them all. Y'all have a good one.
All right. I'll see you later.
Okay. Bye, y'all.
All right.
Okay. So let's hear from your side of things, Idris. Like, what do you do through this journey, and what have you seen through her journey that might be helpful for somebody who is trying to stick to something that's a little bit harder to do? I want to hear what your perspective about all of it is.
Like I said, I don't look at this. I always try to get people to go someplace that they're a little uncomfortable going, and then getting them there. And then it just changes your attitude about your abilities and your mental toughness, and people can do anything they really put their mind to. So you have to kind of challenge them there. And that's kind of and it starts out in the gym. I don't sit there and meet somebody like her and go, do a contest. No, I'm like, let me show her improvement. So with her, the process was first she couldn't lose a pound for 2 years. And in 8 weeks, she lost 18 of them. So first she got to experience that. Then she was, for doing CrossFit and stuff, I don't know what they did there, but she wasn't that strong. I was like, you're not that strong, So I said, let's get you stronger, build that up. So, she could barely do push-ups, and now she can do 100,
Did you feel like with the CrossFit that she was doing, that it was just working the same muscles over and over again, and so it wasn't?
I think unless you're doing CrossFit professionally, you're not training right.
Yeah.
You're not doing all the things, and it's too much. It's really hard. CrossFit is like football, in my opinion. It's not for regular people to do. It's for professional athletes to do, because it is a very, very hard sport. I give mad props to any CrossFit person, because it is hard, but it's like me. I couldn't do that. It would kill me. It's really hard on the body. So, but they also do a lot of repetitive movements, and they're not really that strict on how you do them. Mm-hmm. So you can cause a lot of injury. You can cause a lot of aches and pains that are unnecessary if you're not trying to be a pro. If you're trying to be a pro, that just comes with the territory. But if you're just trying to exercise, sometimes it can be too much. So I said, look, it's not necessarily that I don't want you to do CrossFit. It's just that you're not doing rear delts. You're not doing parts of your back. You're missing out on all these other muscle groups that support the muscles that you're using during CrossFit. So pretty soon she could do way more push-ups. She could do handstands 20, 30 feet. She can climb up the rope in 2-3 pulls. Like I just improved all of her CrossFit stuff just
Yeah.
by working on the other muscle groups, the antagonistic. I mean, that's a little detailed, but there's primary movers and there's antagonistic movers. And there's all of these different muscles that aren't being used when you do it's like baseball. If you're working your baseball muscles, you're not working basketball muscles. You're not working football muscles. You're not working golf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything has what it does. So I wanted her to just get her whole body in shape, and then she could do whatever she wants. If she
Yeah.
wants to be a runner, if she wants to play tennis. Like when I train tennis players, I train golfers, professional golfers. I just train their whole body to be stronger, so that everything they do is a little easier because they're stronger.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with a housewife. You know, the stronger you. Like I had a client. Actually, there's a lead singer of Jefferson Starship, Mickey Thomas, and I trained him and his wife. And his wife Rachel was a little tiny thing. She's really tiny. And I remember training them. This is back in 2013 when I was living in Palm Springs. And one day she calls me right about this time of year, and she's screaming on the phone. Now this is a grown, 40-something, 50-year-old woman screaming, "I got the Christmas tree down all by myself."
Yeah, and to know that that's like a piece of confidence that she didn't have before, where she was
Yes.
like, if she
Yes.
has to do it on her own, that can feel very overwhelming. But having that confidence to know that you can do those things, it really is enabling.
It's an empowering thing as you get older. A lot of people don't notice if you're not getting older, but the older you get, you start feeling way more vulnerable.
Yeah.
You start feeling like, wow, can I defend myself? If I fall, can I get back up? So when I train clients in their 50s, my whole goal, I had a woman once who was she was 81. I still remember her name. Her name was Vi. She's probably passed away now. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's 100. Who knows, right? But Vi was a little tiny thing, like 4'10" or something, and she used to go to Laughlin, Nevada, with her girlfriends, and they would go, to the casino, and that was her life, And one day she went, and you know how sometimes you have really high curbs on the streets. She tried to step up and she fell, so she got really scared, and she was like, "I can't even go." And I'm like, this is her whole life like this now. And we just took away her whole joy. So I was like, I'm just going to get her strong enough and confident enough that she can know she can step up on curbs.
Yeah.
That's all I did. For 2 months, we trained, and I just strengthened the muscles that I knew she needed to strengthen. And at the end of every workout, I had a really high step, and I made her do step-ups. And after about 2 months, she kind of looked at me. She was like, "I'm good," And I'm like, "All right,"
That's such a great thing to be able to change within yourself, because I know I had a family member when I had my son and we were out and about and they were carrying my son when he was just a baby, and they stepped down a step and almost tripped and with my son in her arms, and I went over and helped her with the baby and everything. And after that, she's like, "I'll never hold this baby again. I don't ever want to put their life in danger." And so instead of like having the mindset of, okay, this is a weakness I have, this is something that I need to strengthen myself in, I think a lot of us go to the space of, I'm cutting that out of my life. And that's an awful place to be, where you're going to start cutting activities of just living life out of your life because you're not feeling strong, you're not feeling that confidence in your own body and the abilities that you have. And when you're still functioning and you're still moving around, you do have the ability to bring yourself up and not take yourself down. And I think that's something that people need to realize, that they can make that change for the good.
There's also a lot of myths. People believe a lot of stuff that has been said over the years, and no one ever, I don't know why they don't, I question everything that don't sound right. Like when they say, don't lift weights, kids shouldn't lift weights when they're young because it'll stunt their growth. Lie. That's not true at all. When you get older, you lose your balance. Lies. That is not true at all. You get weak. If you're weak, you have no balance. An infant can't stand either, and they're not old. Okay? They're not strong enough to stand, and after a while they can stand. So it's strength that dictates that. Now, if you get something equilibrium, there's other ways you can lose. But not just because you get old. Otherwise, you'd never see a 90-year-old run a marathon, or an 80-year-old. You wouldn't see that, right? So it's not age. It's the fact that we get weaker. And what happens is this. And it's the same thing with obesity any kind of injury, your life starts to shrink. And what you just said, now you can't go to the amusement park. You can't go here. You can't go there. Now you're just confined to the house. That's not a place that I don't think anybody would sign up for and say, you know what, when I get about so and so, I want to be so out of shape and so, whatever, that I can't even leave the house.
You know what's really
And people
sad,
do it.
actually? I was dating a guy in high school whose dad was like that, who's really obese, and he never ever left his house. He never left his couch, right? And I remember we were on this date one time, and he's like, I can't wait to be just like my dad, or I don't have to do anything. I can just sit around. And I'm like, I think this might be our last date.
And what's funny is he doesn't even, because a lot of times people will put off this thing that they're okay with this lifestyle,
Yeah.
and it's not true. They just don't want to tell people how miserable they are. Because how could you be happy and you can't go anywhere?
Yeah.
It's impossible. There's no way you could be living life and your life is confined to, your house or just going to the grocery store from time to time. When you got this whole world out there, and
Yeah.
it's a very sad place that people they take themselves there because nobody's making you do that. You're deciding to do that. And I've had a lot of people say that. Well, we all got to get old. I'm like, yeah, but don't you want to get old on your terms? I hope to get 70. I hope to get 80. But I'm not going to just let life take me there. I'm going to take me there. It's going to be the way I choose to do it. And that's, I don't think people understand how powerful that is. Just in your own space, that's very powerful. And then you bring around people, you draw people just like that. Because if you want to see where a person's future is, look at who they hang out with.
Yeah, I grew up in this place where I would go visit my grandparents, and I'd go visit my great uncles and great aunts, and I would always show up to visit them, and they were probably in their like 60s, so not like awfully old where they couldn't get around and do the things that life bring to them, right? But I would go to visit them, and they would all just be sitting around on their couches, like some of them smoking cigarettes, just sitting there day in, day out after they retired. And that's kind of what they looked forward to back in those days, right? Like it was kind of this weird dynamic in the way that they went from being like such hard workers to just kind of giving up that freedom that they had by creating habits within themselves, right? So when I was like getting married, when I was trying to move to the next step in life, that was something that I was very aware of in my own life. And I knew I didn't want that life when I turned 60. I didn't want to be sitting on the couch watching TV with a cigarette in my hand. Like I knew that this world has so much more to offer to give to me and the experiences that I could have. And I was never, ever going to be that person. And I think like having that mindset, even from a young age, and knowing that I wanted to take on the world instead of let the world beat me down and let me just give up on things in my life. I didn't want to ever say no to my kids about any activity. I wanted to be there for them. I wanted to go to the beach and surf with them. I wanted to go skiing or snowboarding. I never wanted to have any excuse why I couldn't do those things. And because this life is such an amazing thing to experience. And I wanted to be that good example for my kids also. But I think that's definitely a mindset that people have to get into. It's not.
Well, also people are taught really bad. We've been given some really bad advice from a lot of our parents and grandparents. Like as far as youth, like people in their 20s. I have so many people who will be in their 20s and they're like, well, in your 20s, you're young and you want to run and rip and run and da 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 da. And then when we get old, we just fall apart. And I'm like, wait a minute. When you're young, you ain't got no money. So where you going? When you retire, you have all the time in the world, and now you're too tired to go anywhere. And think about it. Look how backward. Like, no, you should be killing it in your 20s, killing it in your 30s.
Yeah.
Then when you get in your 60s, it's like, my time.
Yeah.
And now you go, and now you go. So if you're in horrible shape, you can't go nowhere. When you finally have time to go, you can't even go.
Yeah.
So we've been taught completely the wrong. Like me having a kid at 20 years old. A lot of people is like, well, I'm like, actually, I'm glad I have my kids young because my kids are grown. both of them full grown. It's all me now. I'm like, shoot, this is cool. I got friends who are 50 with 2 year olds. I'm like, good luck with that one. you know, good luck with
No
that
way
one.
I want to be there.
You can, I mean, yeah, you can buy more material stuff, but so what? You know, time with your kid means more than stuff anyway, right? So even
Yeah.
as a young person, you spend that time with your kid. You're growing with your kid. You're growing with your kids, and then when you finally figure it out, now you get to go do it
Yeah.
and watch. So like for me, I just want to live longer for my grandkids now. I
Yeah.
want to be in the best shape I can for the next, I don't know. I want to see my granddaughter have a kid, hopefully. So that's what my mission is now. It's nothing to do with me, honestly. It's really just to see them.
Yeah. And I think one of the I think a couple days ago I was having a conversation with my friend, and I think those are things that you need to think about even earlier on in your age, and being able to make those changes for yourself. Because like even with Brandon and I, we talked about being able to have kids early so that we could have the time to travel and do the things that we want to do when we were older, because you can't financially possibly do that when you're younger and you're poor mom and dad, right? Like,
Yeah,
and
you're
so
starting life. Yeah, yeah. You don't have as much money, and when you get older, you can go anywhere.
yeah,
And
so
your kids are grown. You know.
yeah, and I think that's the same thing with fitness too, is it's just like when you understand that from a younger age, it's going to be so much easier as you get older. And when your body does start breaking down, you've already built it up so much to where it handles like those times where it breaks down. And that's why like I always love having these conversations about how it crosses over into other parts of our lives, because these are choices that you need to make right now. Like you can't wait 10 years to make these decisions to be healthier in your life. You can't wait to make these decisions to start later out in life, because you're not going to be able to accomplish what you could if you started a lot earlier in life. And
Like earlier this week or last week, maybe it was earlier this week. Because the last week is tough. It's a real tough week. So she was complaining about it, and I said, I said the people that you admire the most have suffered to get where they are. Every one of them, they have suffered. They have sacrificed and they have suffered, and that's why it's so rewarding, because you suffered. Like, and I kind of teased her the other day, and I'm like, you do know that there's women that you're going to compete against that are 35, 40, 50 years old with kids. You don't have any kids. Like when I was doing contests, I had a 2 year old and a 12 year old and a 9 to 5, and I slept 3 hours a night getting ready for contests. 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours is all I get a day because I had kids. I had other stuff to do. That's what made it so rewarding. So when I won, I was like, I did that. I did that. I was proud of myself. I don't think people understand how important it is to be proud of yourself. Oh my God, it's and,
and
and
I
people they don't add up these things. They don't find ways. They find ways, like that girl said, you can quit. They find ways to bring themselves down, but they don't think of ways to bring themselves up.
yeah.
And the more success, I'm gonna be honest. I tell you what, the one thing about the gym that I noticed is every single day you could do something that makes you feel good about yourself. There's hardly anywhere else in your life where every single day you could do something that makes you feel good about yourself. Because your kids sometimes make you feel like you're going nuts. Your husband sometimes makes you feel like you're going nuts. Nobody at work appreciates you. Right? But if you go to the gym and you pull off a set that you didn't even think you could do, or you do push-ups and you didn't think you could do it, you go home. So every single day you add a little coin to the positive side, because there's enough coins going in the negative. There's enough of that. We need to start investing and putting stuff into that positive bank, that self-esteem bank. Build my self-esteem bank, and every single day you could do that in the gym. Every day, do something you didn't think you could do.
Yeah, and I love all of that, because I think that people have this mindset, especially growing up, that they're competing against so many other people. And then it is an issue even with women where they like want to compete in so many ways. And I think it has to do with the fact that we have had to compete for things with men so many times over the years that all of a sudden we like are still competing even with each other, right? And I think it takes you to a place of when you can see that sense of accomplishment that you don't have to compete with other people. It's about your self improvement and competing with yourself and saying, you know what, I can challenge myself here and I can get to this level because I know that I can do it. And then you're going to feel way more proud of yourself if it's something you challenged yourself and competed with yourself about than competing with somebody else, because competing with other people just kind of breaks you down eventually because there's going to be something that they're going to be better at, right? But when you compete with yourself and you feel that sense of accomplishment within yourself, I think that's more rewarding than any other type of competition that you can be in.
I also think people don't really know what competition means. Because when I was coming up, there were guys that I saw that I looked at as, I want to be like that. I wasn't competing against him. That was a mark. That was just a mark. I was like, okay, if I can do that. That's not a competition between me and him. That's a mark. That's a goal. And most people, just because like they'll look at, like in basketball, one team is trying to score more points than the other. But the deal is they don't work together, they're not going to win. If they don't work together. So are you really competing against the other team, or are you trying to work together the best you can to be successful? Yeah. And that's what people don't get. They don't realize just because you're trying to do better, or you see someone that and you're like, you know what, I want to do that. It's not really I want to get there. I want to get myself there. And then once you get there, then you got to find somebody a little higher than that. Yeah. And then you go, okay, now I want to go there. And now I want to go there. And now you always are on top of yourself. You're always onto something. A lot of people get to a place and they just go, oh, I'm cool. I tell people, just like with weight gain, a lot of people say, well, I want to get to this weight. This is a big mistake a lot of people make. I want to get to 140 pounds. You can't stay at 140 pounds. Some days you're gonna be 142, some days you're gonna be 138, some days you're gonna be, right? You can't stay there. So that's why you have to learn how to eat, because no one eats, most people don't eat consistently enough to maintain a weight. Mm-hmm. Even like with the MMA, the fighters, when they weigh in, they only weigh that minute. The minute they get off that scale, they're hydrating and they put on 10, 15 pounds.
Yeah.
When she does this show, her weight's going to fluctuate 2 or 3 pounds over the next 2 days.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's really just about discipline, about, routine. And don't worry about what you weigh. Worry about how you're living, how you're eating, how you're training. Your weight will be fine. You will look fine, but your weight's always going to bounce around.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of lessons that I learned competing, and she's learning them now. Yeah. She's like, and Yasmin, she wants to do a show too. We're looking at doing Venice next year and go to Venice Beach. I said, I'm gonna take you all to Muscle Beach. We're gonna go out and compete out in Muscle Beach.
That's
take
awesome.
You to Venice Goals. I'm gonna take him a shot and show my picture on the wall at the Mecca.
I love it. You'll have to take pictures.
At the Mecca. But I want them. But I just want them to just have fun. I do. I want them to really, really enjoy what they're doing. And like Yasmin has a daughter, and both of my children have always been into fitness. They're both always, and I never pushed them into it. I just led by example. And that's what she wants to do. She's like, I just want to lead by example. I go, if you do it, trust me, your daughter's going to want to follow you. Because every little girl wants to be just like her mom until she realizes her mom is crazy. And then she changes her mind.
That's awesome. Well, this has been really fun. I really loved being able to talk to her and hear about her journey and just all the work that you guys have done together. I'm really excited to see what this brings for her in the next few days. So awesome. Well, we're going to have you guys on next week and hear what went on at the competition. So
yeah, I'll take some pictures, some video, and we'll share some of it. It'll be cool.
Okay. Well, you have an amazing weekend.
And you're next.
Well, for my goal, I'm getting closer, so I'm
remember that. Well, you got to also remember, like especially nowadays, they have all different levels. Like she's actually too lean for some of the other stuff. She could have done it 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh,
So,
really?
and they did that intentionally. Some are more lean than others. So, it's not even like you have to do what she's doing. But what it does is it makes you focus and it gives you discipline. And you have to learn about consistency. You learn about diet better. That's what she's learning, and that's what you'll learn. You'll learn everything you need to know about how food affects you, how much you need to eat to feel the way you want, look the way you want. It's so important. So it is. Let me tell you what. For me, being 57, I am so glad that I don't have issues with food because it is not. It is hard when you do, and I am so glad I don't because it is It is hard.
Yeah, and it's something that everyone really needs to learn. So this is what I love about our conversations is bringing this to other people who just need that motivation or need to learn a little bit more and take the next step. So
Yep.
awesome. Yep, something I got to think about. But I am going to post some pictures I took about 2 weeks ago, just to show where I'm at now, because I want to be able to see from now what I'm going to look like in the next couple of weeks when I'm going to start trying to lean down a little bit more and building up my muscles more. So I want to see the difference, and I want you guys to see the difference. It helps me. It motivates me to be able to
And we'll
post.
do some stuff, and I'll do some diet stuff with you on here. Actually, I'll design a diet for you on here so people can see what you're doing, and then they can kind of see how it affects you and stuff. I think that'll be cool too, so people can kind of see what I do a little bit inside, little inside stuff, you know.
I like it. I like it. Awesome. Well, you guys have an amazing weekend. Give
Definitely.
all my good vibes and love to Bailey, and you guys are going to rock it.
All right. See you next week.
See ya.
All right.
Hey, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Bailey is always a fun guest to have on the show, and just to see her journey and where she came from. I mean, it's amazing the results that she had, and just to see where she came from and where she's at now and what it's done to her, even the confidence level that she's at is such an amazing process. So I know you guys can do it. Hopefully, you guys are still working on your 6 week challenge and you guys are hitting those goals. I want to see some of you guys and some of the progress that you guys have made. So, definitely share your love, share your stories of what's going on with your goals that you're doing. And you guys have an amazing weekend. See ya.